जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी।
यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी।
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी।
यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी।
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवर धारी।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे।
निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौरांग प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी। Welcome everyone in this Bhagavad Dharma Srimad Bhagavatam study transcendental program. We are studying Canto 6, And chapter 12 entitled Vritrasura's Glorious Death. Yeah, this is a very most critical chapter because it is describing the glory of a death, So that's the ultimate message, how to make our death glorious. Anyway, we are in text number 9 and 10. Ojasaho balam pranam amritam mrityumev cha tamagyaya jano hetum atmanam manyate jadam. Translation. And so this is Vritrasura continuing speaking. Our sensory powers, prowess, mental power, bodily strength, living force, immortality, and mortality are all subject to the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Not knowing this, foolish people think the dull material body to be the cause of their activities. Text number 11 or 10. Yatha daru mayi nari yatha patra mayo mrigah evam bhutani bhagavan ishatantyani viddhimho bho. O King Indra, as a wooden doll that looks like a woman, or as an animal made of grass and leaves cannot move or dance independently, but depends fully on the person who handles it. All of us dance according to the desire of the Supreme Controller. The personality of Godhead, no one is independent. Responsibly, please. O King Indra, is a wooden doll that looks like a woman, or as an animal made of grass and leaves cannot move or dance independently, but depends fully on the person who handles it. All of us dance according to the desire of the Supreme Controller. The personality of Godhead, no one is independent. That is the message. Purport by His Divine Grace of Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is confirmed in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 5.142. Ekala Ishvara Krishna Ar Sab Bhritya Yare Yaiche Nachai Se Taiche Kare Nitya. Lord Krishna alone is the Supreme Controller, and all others are His servants. They dance as He makes them to so. They dance as He makes them do so. We are all servants of Krishna. We have no independence. We are dancing according to the desire of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But out of ignorance and illusion, we think we are independent of the Supreme Will. Therefore it is said, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Controller. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin. For He is the prime cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita. Jai. Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swarupa Damodar Swami Niti Namine. Namah Sadbhakta Manaye Manipurudbhavaya Jai Srila Prabhupada Lasadvani Prachara Niratayate Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanas Tam Namami Harim Param Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna. So here wonderful realization and the facts about the absolute truth and everything in relation to him is being described here, very, very most essential for our ultimate enlightenment, because ignorance is the greatest blockage, to enlightenment, and ignorance is also the bondage to this material world, to this realm, which we experience is not the most palatable, most wonderful place to be. But what can we do? If one doesn't come out of the ignorance, then he befriends ignorance. This is what has been going on. We have befriended ignorance, whatever is presented to us. We just very busy just making the compromise and just adjust and take things, yes, as if there is no exit from it. But in a human form of life, the very nature of human being is to inquire total solution. Progressiveness means coming out of, becoming free from the inabilities, the incompleteness, or the less than perfect situations. That's progressiveness, correct? So a human being can contemplate, can think, can inquire, can desire freedom from the fundamental problems of life. That is the fundamental message. So ignorance, which has been perennial since eternity, and it has blocked it has deprived us from the liberation of the freedom from all the shortcomings of this life in experience. But ultimate ignorance is what? Here it is. The ultimate ignorance is non-acknowledgement of the source of everything. Ultimate ignorance is a non-acknowledgement of the source of everything, the summum bonum, of the supreme shelter, the supreme position, the supreme controller, the supreme shelter of everyone, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even when he exposes himself, because we as a very insignificant, tiny in everything, we don't have the access, we don't have the capacity to access the Supreme on our own. That's why when the Supreme exposes himself, manifests himself, and introduces himself, it tries to attract our attention towards him, that he's all in all and under his supervision. By that acknowledgement of him as the supreme controller, supreme well-wisher, supreme shelter, Bhaktaram Yagyatapasam Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Then if we don't acknowledge, then it becomes the ultimate ignorance. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam and the basic foundation that everybody is interested in oneself, one's own advancement, fulfillment, progressiveness. But if one fails to realize one's own nature, then that is the biggest deprivation. So the message of the Vedas and Srimad Bhagavatam especially, the message is that if we don't acknowledge, if we are not able to acknowledge what the position of the Supreme is, Krishna is, then we remain deprived from finding the fulfillment of our ultimate self-interest also. So in these two slokas, the clear limitations of the living entity versus the supreme control of the Supreme Lord is described, simultaneously. Both the slokas basically presenting the same thing, that we are under total control, we are totally, we don't have that independence which makes us the Supreme, or the idea that let me become the Supreme. That is not possible because independence is not bestowed. It is not our own. So, but due to that non-acknowledgement, what happens? The living entity defies even the Supreme. He ends up, in Srimad Bhagavatam, Narad Muni says, very beautiful, the position of Supreme, here just the Supreme Controller, but other than that, how he is uninfluenced by anything. This is the position, Kutastha, totally unpollutable. He holds his position as divine, full of bliss, full of knowledge, and full of eternality. He's eternally is the Supreme. He sustained. He is full of knowledge. He's totally in control. That he's the Supreme. He never his consciousness is never violated. And although the things appear in our non-acknowledgement, we misjudge even the position of the Supreme. Yashanubhuti kalena layotpatyadi nashyatavai. Swatonyasmatcha gunata na kutasyana rishyati. Tam klesha karma paripaka guna pravahi. Abhyahitanu bhavam ishwaram advitiyam. Krishna is a non-dual entity. Abhyahatanu bhavam ishwaram. His experience, his self-awareness is never violated, never blocked by anything, because he is a supreme, all-pervading consciousness compared to our not all-pervading. Abhyahatanu bhavam ishwaram advitiyam. Pranadibhi svavibhavai upagudhamanyav. Pranadibhi svavibhavai, by his own energy and potency. Svavibhavai upagudhamanyav. But to others, he's covered. He's covered by his own potency, as it were. Pranadibhi svavibhavai upagudhamanyav manneta suryam iva megha himoparagai. But that his own potency cannot block him. No? But others, those who don't understand his position, they think even God is covered. So when they even observe Krishna, they think Krishna is also like one of us. He is also under illusion and whatnot. So the example given is Pranadisva vibhai upagudha manyo manneta suryam eva. Just like the sun, manneta suryam eva megha himoparagai. The sun, it is because of the sun the cloud is produced, correct, from the water. Megha hima, and the snow. Uparagai means the eclipse. All these things, they cannot block the sun, because sun is the source. Sun is much, much bigger. So the things which come due to the effect of the sun, they cannot block the potency or the power or the position of the sun. But those who are in ignorance of that fact of the sun, they think the sun is blocked by the cloud, sun is blocked by the snow, sun is blocked by the eclipse. But sun is too big. So when the Supreme's position, how big, how unlimited, how in total full conscious control, the Supreme is, without that acknowledgement, it causes our self-deprivation. So that is the point. So where Krishna is not under the influence of those things which we ourselves trying to get rid of. The kleshas, tam klesha karma paripak. So klesha, the klesha, there are 5 kinds of kleshas described. And the foundational is avidya, avidya granthi. 5 kinds of kleshas are avidya, then asmita, raga, dveshan, abhinivesh. These are the 5 kinds of kleshas which have been plaguing the living entity in such a miserable position. But the Supreme, he is not affected. He is not under the influence of the kleshas. So out of the 5 kleshas, the foremost is avidya. Then avidya is 4-fold. Avidya is that to think which is temporary is permanent. Asatera satya karimai. This is one aspect of avidya. Second is what causes the misery, what is most miserable, the living anything, it is the source of pleasure. This second fold, correct? Third fold is, which is very, very abominable. The living entity thing, it is enjoyable. जो अपवित्र है उसको पवित्र मानता है. Because pavitra means pure things we want to enjoy, correct? But which is very filthy, which is most abominable. This body, our body is most abominable collection of. Can you describe the ingredients in our body? It is filled with the stool and urine and pus and mucus, blood, durgandha, and all these things. And we find it most palatable, most enjoyable, correct? Apavitra ko pavitra manna to something. And then again, which is anatma, which is not life, which is not conscious. We think this is real life. So this in this body, the anatma buddhi. So what is that? So what is anitya? Our body, our house, the wife, husband, whosoever, the son, daughter, the sense objects, all our opulences, all these perishable things, correct? But we think they are permanent, they are a permanent shelter. Then the body we already described, that's filled with yashyatma buddhi kunapetri dhatuke. It's made of this, all these 3 dhatuke, correct? The blood and all this is malmutra, all these things. Very, very impure, very, very abominable, but we find them very, very attractive. So if a box is filled with all these ingredients which the body is made of, and if you put in box, if somebody touches, we say, don't touch it, this is impure, this is impure. Correct? Why this is impure? Because it is stool, but what is inside our body also? Same thing, but we find is very pure. Correct? So that much importance, that much attachment we are to this very abominable collection of abominable things, this body. And thing which causes our misery, all this conditioning due to this body. Lord Krishna says very clearly, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, which gives, this world gives us the experience of the pain of taking birth, or even the mother who gives birth to a child. And the position of child is most precarious one can imagine. Janma Mrityu, the fear of death, Jara Vyadhi, the pain of old age and disease and all these things. Dukkha doshanu darshanam. So which is, Krishna is helping us that find dukkha in this, don't think that this is sukha. So, which is miserable, one considers is very joyful, and which is not going to stay with us, which is not us. To this body we think this is Atma. So this Atma Buddhi. So this is the function of avidya. So this is the avidya is the foundational misery or klesha. Then Asmita means the pride, means the ahankara. Aham mameti, this aham mameti. I am this body, I am convinced that I am this body. This is me. And these bodily relations are, they are mine. So this aham mameti ahankara, this pride is so prominent. Raga dvesha. So raga is what? Rag can be described that we want happiness, correct? And we want to get rid of the unhappiness, whatever it is. Anything which gives us a happy or pleasurable experience, or anything which deprives us or gives us miserable experience, so anything we desire, the pleasurable experience, and we want to avoid the unperishable experience. So both things are raga. Hankering for something which gives us pleasurable experience, and trying to avoid that which gives us a miserable experience. That is both raga. And in the same way, what is dvesha? Dvesha means anything which causes blockage to our happiness. Right? Attachment. So raga we describe is attachment for something which gives us pleasurable experience, and which or thing which blocks our miserable experience. Our attachment to those things is called raga. But dvesha, conversely, that anything which blocks our pleasurable experience, and then our ignoring, ignoring the thing which causes pain to us. Ignoring means under my hating, ignoring. So anything which is हिंदी में कहते हैं जो सुख का बाधक हो, और जो which blocks our happiness, and which and we want to avoid it, ignore it, undermine it, hate it, whatever words we, that is called a dvesha. Dvesha is nothing but that. Anything which is going to block our happy experience, and anything which is going to cause pain to us, mental, physical, whichever level, when we want to ignore it, want to undermine it, do away with it, that is dvesha. So the foundation is in relation to this body, this misidentification. And this causes our very strong attachment to this body. That yes, this body is, if I can protect in a particular way, I can protect, sustain my good experience, and if I can avoid certain things which cause pain to the body. So this is strong attachment to the body in the fear of death. Then our desire, strong desire to not leave this body. So this fear of death comes in the picture. So basically, this ignorance has to be addressed. This is the ultimate thing to be addressed. And this particular shloka basically only just defining that the living entity, because of this ignorance, one remains bewildered, like Krishna says, Prakrite kriya manani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. This is a famous shloka. So Krishna is saying that you are poking your nose into something which is not your field. We are trying to do something which we are not supposed to, but we think we are the doer. The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of the three modes of material nature. This is our bondage. Influence of false ego. He thinks that he's the doer of the activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. How to understand this? Krishna describes in 3rd chapter. And then he gives the solution also. Tattvittu Mahabhav. We'll come to that later. But our subject matter is what is this ahankar? How this it's like imposition. Ahankar is described as an imposition. Imposition by the active principle of avidya. So avidya, this material prakriti, which is working under Krishna's direction, correct? Prakriti, maya adhyakshena prakriti. That is the principle. So this Prakriti Kriya Manani, which is expressed here, and how the material energy does its role, bewildering us, causing us, as if our becoming bewildered is imposed on us. That is active, that is the function of avidya, the material energy. It causes this blockage. Active principle. So due to this, we experience this strong I-ness or identification with this perishable body. That's why the definition of Maya or Prakriti is this misidentification. Maya is that which is not. This simple. Maya is that which is not. What is not? So this is our misidentification with this body. Body is not my true identity. It is perishable. It is decaying. But this is what happens. But what is not there, but when perceived as such, is called this imposition or dhyas. That which is not, but it is perceived as. The example given famous in our scriptures is like the perception of a snake in a rope. Now this is a big problem, correct? Same way, our strong identification, insistence that this body is me. It's a big problem. Big problem, correct? If a rope is perceived as snake, big problem. So similarly, on the other side, in a liberated, when the living entity is what is a liberated state, just to give the contrast from the bondage of the three modes of material nature, in our pure state, which is free from the influence of these three modes, there is no kartritva of, there is no doership of these material activities. Because the living entity's only doership is pure devotional service. Other than that, anything he claims to be the doer, this is actually under the influence of the three modes of material nature. This is the main point again and again discussed. But what is that? But that doership is imposed. That is the point. That doership, that kartaham iti manyate, Krishna says na, ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate prakriti kriya manani gunai karmani sarvasya. The doership, identification of the doership is imposed forcefully by the Prakriti, by this material energy. But under the direction, under the presidency, under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti. Suyate Sacharacharam. Hetu Nanane Konte Jagat Vi Parivartate. And under his direction and his indication, under his plan, the material energy is simply conducting its affair. And again this word, Hetu Nanane, for this very purpose. Jagat Vi Parivartate, the world is appearing and disappearing in everything. The material energy, by the will of the Lord, by his direction. So how to understand Krishna's involvement with this, his leadership, or Maya Adhyakshena, Krishna presiding over, or Krishna taking the direction. Like we find in the lives of Janak Maharaj, Ambrish Maharaj. They were the big kings, but they were hardly involved directly. They were living just as a king, as a power, and just by their that position itself, nothing would move. Although they didn't do anything, but just by their direction and will, everything else, the whole kingdom, the whole population, the whole kingdom, the facility and everything, just by their indication, just by their, the chairman, just he does certain things and everything is executed. He has so many people to take care. So in the same way, material energy conducts under the will of the Lord. She does everything. She has so many means. But they all belong. The leader, the boss is Krishna. He doesn't have to do anything. Everything is done. It's just like the iron. The fire burns, correct? But when fire is transferred to the iron, it becomes red hot. The iron by itself has no capacity to burn, but it acts like fire. So these are the things. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he himself is the fundamental or the primary cause of everything. That's why ultimately, even those who don't know who the Supreme is, at least within Vedic culture, people think, yes, Paramatma, Ishvara, all this nomenclature to that Supreme Controller. The connotation is that. Now, how wonderful it would be if we know who that Supreme Controller or the Ishvara is. Because although he is the primary cause, but he is not visible, correct? But what is visible to us is just the material manifestation exposed to us. The inert material nature, just as an external show like the nipples on the neck hanging of a goat. Anybody seen that portion? But the blood, there is no milk in it. So the real doer, real conductor is Krishna, and under his supervision, the material Prakriti does everything, and we are forced into it. But why we are forced into it? Because we desire it. The man proposes and God disposes. So this doership imposed by Prakriti, because the living entity, we the embodied soul, the embodied soul wants to enjoy the objects of the senses created by this material nature. Because we want to enjoy. And that's why the provision is made. Man proposes, God disposes. So it's like action. Why are we motivated to the action? Because we get the fruit and then we enjoy the fruit. So this is the thing. The other day Maharaj described, it is the fruit which makes us take the credit. We are not simply interested in action. If it was, action is not for the sake of action. Because Krishna wants, because Sri Guru wants me to do this, I'm not doing just that. I'm very much interested how much fruit I can accomplish, then I can take pride that I did this, I did this, I did this. But actually, the Prakriti is doing everything. It is only facilitating. Krishna is the Prayojak Karta. Prayojak means one who facilitates, one who causes according to the desire of the living entity. So when our desire is dovetailed to fulfill the will of the Supreme and his representative, Krishna, then very engagement will be most fulfilling, because then we won't take the pride that this fruit, it came because of me. The very dedication, Krishna, and they are the doer, and they want to give me the credit, they want to engage me. So that sense of becoming engagement is the real joy, real fulfillment of the heart, because ultimately if one identifies with the fruit, that the fruit, attraction towards the fruit is spiritual or material, whichever it may be, it depends on in the consciousness. Then we become attached, we take the pride as we did it, because we want to enjoy the grossly or subtly, we want to enjoy the fruit of our action, So this is the bewilderment. So due to this reason, the bewildered or ignorant being consider himself the doer, because without that there will be no motivation just for action. In the conditioned state, the motivation of action is to get the fruit and enjoy its fruit. Because three modes of material nature bind us in that only. That motivation is to enjoy the fruit. How to free oneself? That's why Krishna says after that, so Tattavittu Mahabahu Guna Karma Vibhagaso Guna Guneshu Vartante Iti Matvana Sajjate. He realizes no, say Guna means these senses. And Guneshu means the sense objects. So the senses will move toward the sense objects, because that is their function. And that's why the enlightened person, one who perceives Krishna's control, Krishna making everybody move, then he doesn't take pride, he doesn't take that I am the doer. The senses are simply engaging in the sense objects. When we become hungry, then food is needed, and all these things, eyes see, and all these things. But we don't take that I am the doer, I am the doer. Krishna is the doer. And if we don't tell these senses in the service of Krishna, that is our pure kartritva, that doership. Jivere swarupai Krishna nitya das. So that itself will be most fulfilling rather than trying to enjoy the fruits of our actions. Because Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, bhaktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. And I am engaging in his service. And that engagement itself causes such fulfillment. We become the secondary, Acknowledging the primary enjoyment of Krishna, we become fulfilled when we observe, when we engage in Krishna's, causing Krishna's enjoyment, So that's where here the soul is distinct from the, not only the senses, but also the sense objects. Because both are within the three modes. Senses, our body, everything is made of modes. And sense objects of spirit, they are all guna guneshu vartan iti matvana saja. He doesn't become attached to this perishable or this non-permanent nature of this prakriti. And then he finds his direction, which is conducive to his nature, eternal nature of the soul. And that's when Krishna manifests himself. Then he finds his attraction. So when Arjuna, on the same ground, when he was denying to fight because of his attachment to the body and body relations, then Krishna says, well, non-action you want to choose, but it's not possible, because the very identification with the body and bodily relations and your guna is the kshatriya, they will force you to act. So now non-action is not an option. The action, you act according to your guna and karma, but let it become sanctioned, let it become authorized. So authorized, it becomes akarma. When our work becomes authorized, even according to our guna and karma, it becomes akarma. It doesn't have the bondage. Karma bandhan wahan par nahi rehta when it becomes authorized. So when Arjuna, using his tendency to fight as a kshatriya, when it was sanctioned by the supreme controller, who is beyond the influence of the three modes, who is beyond, rather, when Krishna describes that namam karmani limpanti name karma phalaspreha itimam yovi janati karma bhina nibadhyate. This is the secret of success. To acknowledge, to spot that person who is free from the influence of the three modes of material nature. And Krishna says, one who recognizes, one who identifies me, one who knows me as such, then he also becomes free from the influence of three modes of material nature. So ultimately, whatever situation, condition in this material world, we must know, we must realize how to become free from their very malefic effect, influence on us. It causes our deeper and deeper attachment and entanglement, engrossment, infatuation with this material nature. Only by somehow or other acknowledging Krishna is the supreme controller, Krishna is the supreme shelter, we can come out of the influence of the shelter or the jail of this material energy. There is no other way. So how Krishna controls living entities, it's inevitable, correct? It is indispensable. We cannot, on our own, there is no way we can come out of it. No, this is the idea. So because the position is very, very crippled. Krishna says ultimately towards the end in Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshya arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudhani maya. So according to our strong desire, whatever through our sanskaras, previous lives, we are given a particular body, and according to the nature of this body, yantra given by Krishna, we are running fast or slow. Prabhupada gives a wonderful explanation. The two souls, if they have two persons, they have different cars. One is on the bicycle, one is on the fast car. Then the person on the fast car, he thinks that he's very high. He can go very fast, but only his body is like an instrument. Souls can be the same. They are same, but given different instrument, we function different. But we think I can run very fast. People do say that. Oh, how far is that place? Oh, 100 kilometers. Okay, I will be there in 1 hour. In America, people say like this. I will be. So does a human being has the capacity to go in 1 hour? No. Human capacity is not to run 100 kilometers in 1 hour. Maybe some other animals or someone, but human being identifies with the car which runs that fast. So the whole idea is this misidentification. How to get over? Only when we come to realize our soul's function. Otherwise, our function based on or identifying with the instrument, this body or that body given to us, we become very much engrossed. So his strong desire makes him to attain this material nature. So under the direction of a supreme soul, that's nonetheless. So as soon as a living entity is placed in a particular body, he has to work under the spell of that bodily situation. So the living entity is not independent, and one should not think himself independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The individual is always under the Lord's control. Therefore, one's duty is to surrender. That is the message Vritrasurji is giving to Indra, that I have become surrendered soul, means indirectly he is telling. And this is due to realization. So this realization is for all of us in the pages of Bhagavatam. But this one point just I want to share and then conclude. But this bondage is very, very strong. No? It's very easily said. And some indication to the person who is taking advantage or taking benefit or becoming blessed with this Bhagavat direction. It is just opening, it's eye-opening for all of us. When we observe, when we make the judgment, when we observe things, we make judgment, correct? But unfortunately, ironically, we as human being, one who can make judgment on everyone, we just avoid ourselves making judgment on ourselves. Actually, one should judge only oneself. No one else, because it won't help. It will only block judging ourselves. The example, the famous example given in the scriptures, that Ajanan Daharti Vishati Shalabho Deepa Dahanam. How powerful is the hold of avidya, this avidya which is we discussed, this example, just for contemplation, because Bhagavatam is meant to cause our tremendous revolutionary contemplation of what reality is of our body which we identify and what is our potential, because human being searches out who really am I and where I can end up and where I would if I don't search out what is my potential, what is my options. So in judgment, this avidya means illusion and delusion. So this is a very, very amazing point to describe. It says that Ajanan Daharti Vishati Shalabho Deepa Dahanam. Shalabho means how to describe Shalabho? Shalabho means the firefly, the firefly Patanga. Patanga doesn't know that this fire which is attracting me tremendously, it is my death. Does Patanga knows? But we make this observe, we say, oh, this is such a stupid Patanga. Why he's entering fire? It is death for him. He doesn't know this. Na minopi gyatva vrita vadisham ashnati pishitam. Pishitam means the bait. He eats, but the fish doesn't know that behind the bait is the fork which will which will cause his death. We observe this, correct? Oh, such a stupid poor fish. समझ नहीं आती, उसको खाने जा रही है. That is your death. We make observation. But Vijanantopi etan. Yes, we all need though. We human beings know all these things. We observe, make observation in the Prakriti of many sort. But still, in spite of knowing all these things, that this the attraction to the sense gratification, the attraction of the senses to the sense gratification is so tremendous. It will entangle, it will just cause our bondage more and more and more. Still, we are not able to give them up. They cause our, they sustain our entangle, birth, death, again and again. Oh, how great is the potency of this illusion. Illusion and delusion, they are one and the same thing. They are intertwined, you know. Because in illusion, what happens? We make mistake deliberately. Pashyan apina pashyati, that is illusion. You know, in illusion, we wide open, very consciously with wide eyes, with wide ears, everything, we are seeing something. Still, we cannot see it really. That's like a mirage. You know. In mirage, everybody is consciously, scientists, we see. Do you think a person in full knowledge does not see the reflection of water? He sees that. But in ignorance, in illusion, one thinks, no, that is water. That is water. So unless he has the knowledge about that this is mirage, person will not, person will think that this is water, although. But in delusion, what happens? The inattentiveness of the mind, it causes undeliberate mistake. So in illusion, the mistake is deliberately insisting as if I know. You know. So the modern scientists, they think they know things. They are very, but still they cannot see because the limitations of the senses and many factors. So even when they are aware that they are open, their eyes are open, everything, and even when the judgment is made, it is faulty. Delusion is different, influence of the intoxicants and many things. So illusions and delusions, both, the end result is that we come to the wrong end, wrong conclusion. And so this Srimad Bhagavatam describes that if we can observe the limitations in others, how can we avoid seeing the same thing? And why not take advantage of this Srimad Bhagavatam? Vritrasura, especially here, he is exposing, challenging our human intelligence, that we think that we are very intelligent, but unless we accept the supreme controller position of the Supreme Lord, we will deprive ourselves. It will cause our clash of some sort, and ultimately Srila Prabhupada concludes with the Ishvara Paramaya Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Even in this journey, if we don't, what is ultimately the essence of all knowledge? You know? Bhagavata, Krishna, Swayam Bhagavata Gyan. To acknowledge Krishna is the samam bonam, is the source of all Bhagavata. So when we say, who is Bhagwan? Krishna hi Bhagwan hai. This concept, because Krishna expands into different other forms of the Lord, but without acknowledging Krishna is the supreme, the samam bonam source of everything, even the ignorance on the path of spirituality about the Supreme will survive, will last, and conflict and so many contradictions, so many arguments. So this concept must be very much established, that it is Krishna who alone is making everybody dance. Krishna who alone manifests in so many manifestations, Swansha, and Krishna also controlling the Vibhinansha. So his control is over both. Everyone, all the incarnations, all the manifestations of God, Ram, Nrsimha, Vara, Ityadi, they are simply expressing the will of the Lord in different place, time, place, and circumstances. So that way, that much appreciation of Krishna, that is the Param Gyan. Param Gyan means it has to be non-dual, and that non-dual aspect is Sri Krishna, the one who plays the flute and one who is celebrated as the one who drinks the milk of Pada Yashoda, and who is relishing his supremely independent and total nonchalant pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan. So thank you very much, all the Maharajas, Prabhus. Hare Krishna. Any question or comments, addition if one wants to make, please come forward. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaji, Namaskar. Yeah, so anyone is having any question, they can raise the hand and ask Maharaji. Yes, Balram sir, we are going to take one question for the day. So please make your question short, and I request Maharaji also to be short.
Hare Krishna Maharaji.
Yes.
Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, very
Hare
nice class. I have two questions, but okay, I'll ask the first question. You said if once vision is blocked by the cloud, we say sun is not there, but sun is there. So in that case, sun is not blocked, but our vision is blocked. That's very true.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and in this material world, one does work according to three modes of material nature. And God only, let's say, is the permitter and witness. And if he do anything, then if we are doing something, then we are building our karma, we say. So that means we are doing something. God is only permitting. So that means we are doer, but God is the permitter only. Because we have, let's say, we are doing some karma. That's why we are getting different bodies in the next birth or something like that. So in that case, what is the difference then? We say God is the doer, but in this case we say we are the doer. That's why we are getting karma.
Ahankar, ahankara vimudhatma. The bewilderment is due to ahankara. Why he identifies as a doer? Because of his motivation to enjoy the fruit of his action.
But is he doer or not?
Is misidentification, because he cannot. The three modes, the material energy imposes that doership on him. It's a very good question. It's when impelled by strong desire to enjoy. So
yes,
so the Lord has facilitated with a particular body, within the three modes of material nature, and because a strong tendency, the desire to enjoy, he has to adopt this. I am the doer. Otherwise, where would be the motivation? So this motivation to enjoy the fruit of action, that tendency is so deep-rooted since eternity that even when we are trying to rectify and purify a situation, even on the spiritual path, the tendency remains. We are simply not satisfied, just do work for the sake of doing. So that's why we make a choice. Certain things we want to do and certain things we want to avoid, because our choice is, I will do this successfully, I will be glorified that I did this and I did that. So that's why when one becomes surrendered to the spiritual master Krishna, then his joy is only to do what he wants me to do, and let the fruit not be the motivation. So this motivation of the fruit which causes him to misidentify that I am the doer. But when a servant or the surrendered soul is following the direction, then he's just doing his part, because he knows everything is given, everything is provided by the Supreme. It all belongs to him. So he is blessing me. One feels a surrendered soul blessed that although the spiritual master Krishna doesn't need, but he's making me most fortunate to assist him or to participate. You get this point. It's very clear. I think Maharaj the other day also explained very beautifully. It's the same thing. What is this ahankar otherwise? Otherwise means independently thinking of oneself, not acknowledging Krishna is the primary enjoyer of every endeavor. So this ahankar means misidentification. Jivera Swarupoi Krishna Nitya Das. So how an eternal servant should think? He would think, oh, what a causeless mercy that I am allowed to associate with the Lord. I am allowed to associate with my spiritual master. Spiritual master is the manifestation of the Supreme for my deliverance, for my upliftment. And still I should be stuck. I did this for you, Guru Maharaj. I did this for you, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj doesn't need anything. He has come to deliver us. Whatever we are allowed to, it should be experienced as the puremercy.com. It's a pure kripa rather than taking the pride that I am the doer. So when we acknowledge the position, the supreme, the most blessedness of the spiritual master and the supreme position of Krishna, this ahankar that I am the doer doesn't remain. Because a pure devotee, Jivera Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das, a Das does not think that he is the doer of anything. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. May I ask the second question?
No, Prabhuji. Because it is already time, so
Okay.
we are not taking any further question for the day. Maharaj, we can conclude.
So, thank you very much, all of you. And this Vitrasur instructions, they are really, really tremendous eye-opener. And this concept of this misidentification, how the ahankar leads us. Ahankar takes over. It's another example is given like a ghost. The person who is haunted by ghost, he really thinks he is ghost. Correct? You got the point. He really thinks that he is the ghost. And now, if you try to tell him, sir, you are not the ghost. You are not the ghost. Do you think it will help? So this mere instruction is not enough. It has to be properly channeled. Channel is that using his tendency, just bring him to the exorcist. So what the exorcist does, he will just do some medicining. So this sadhana bhakti is basically exorcising. Exorcist, what is the word for it? One who does the action. So the sadhana bhakti, in spite of our strong impel to identify that I am the doer, I am the doer, I am the doer, ahankar, slowly and gradually it gets into our system. And what we understand theoretically, try to understand that I am not the doer, Krishna is the doer, Krishna's agent, Prakriti is the doer, everything. These concept bits remain only theory, but as we involve ourselves in sadhana bhakti, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Sadhana bhakti will do the trick. We must have absolute faith. That's why the association of the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, we put our faith in them that they have experienced through the sadhana bhakti something very sublime. How the spiritual master has become free from this tendency of ahankar, that I am the doer, I am the doer. He is only simply becoming the instrument of his spiritual master and Krishna ultimately. So this tradition of reciprocal succession comes to free us from this ahankar that I am the doer. Jivera Swarupoi Krishna Nitya Das, Krishna Tatastha Shakti Bheda Bhed Prakash. Holy Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Patit Pavan Srila Sripad Guru Mahat ki jai. Samavet Nitai Gaur Bhaktivedanta ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hare Hare Bol. His Holiness Bhakti Swarup Govind Maharaj ki jai. Thank you all and all for joining. See you all in tomorrow's class. Hare Krishna.